The Pittsburgh Steelers are 2-6, and at this point, everything seems like it is a train waiting to crash. Things are getting hostile. Things are getting tense. They're on the verge of a breaking point. And at this point, I don't know if it could be turned around. Not this season, at least. What's up, everybody? Thank you for jumping on to Steelers to Go, part of the All Steelers Talk Network, your daily to go cup of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. I'm Noah Strackbine. Find us on youtube.com/, All Steelers Talk, or anywhere you get your podcasts. And today, we're obviously talking about the downfall and the inevitable crash of the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that is now 2-6. At this point, looks like there is no light at the end of the tunnel, not in 2022 at least. And everyone is starting to show it. I think that's where we have to address things, is that this team is about to crash. It looks like it is a team on the verge of a breakdown, a very, very bad breakdown. And you've seen that coming. You've seen that starting to brew for a couple of weeks. And here we are heading into the bye week. And at this point, you just start to wonder, how much worse is it going to get before it gets any better? You look at this team, and there's a couple of things that stand out. Obviously, they can't get a run game going on a week to week basis. Somebody is excluded from the passing game, and most times it's George Pickens for no reason whatsoever. There is an absolute scream from the fan base and from former players and coaches about how the Steelers are managing their offense and whether or not they should get rid of Matt Canada. And at this point, I think everybody is in pretty much agreement, at least most, that Matt Canada's time in Pittsburgh should have ended already. And if it doesn't end soon, at this point, you're just hurting everybody involved. But the players are starting to talk too. And while they're not sitting around saying, fire this guy or make this change or do this or do that, they are letting out their frustrations. At this point, we're sitting here and we're watching this team, and every chance you get, every chance they get, they're talking about how bad they are. We are no longer sitting here analyzing a team that feels confident in this season or in themselves. We are watching a team, analyzing a team, reporting on a team that is starting to break. And there's a couple of quotes that I think we need to address. Let's start with Kenny Pickett, obviously, and his words about how the team just doesn't study enough. That's where the problem is. He goes, guys need to know what they're doing. We need to study more. I don't think we study enough as a group. There's ways, there's way too many penalties, which we can't control. It's all mental. There's really no excuse for that to happen. We don't know what we're doing, not getting in the right spot, having some procedural penalties, personnel getting in and out of the huddle, all stuff we can control. And it's very true. I mean, the Steelers gave up 9 penalties. At this point, it seems that a week to week basis, there will be an illegal movement or a false start or something where you look at the offense and go, what is going on with the coaching staff that this team just cannot avoid a penalty? That no matter how hard they try, this team is going to dig themselves a hole most times in a situation where they can't afford to dig a hole. It's bad. It's very, very bad. But that's not just the beginning, nor is it the end. Kenny Pickett continued, and he didn't stop anytime soon. He said the team is literally insane. He said it's insane not to change anything. But what is there to change? Something's got to change, right? Pickett said. It's insane to do the same thing over and over and expect something different. We've been having these problems all year. That has to get changed. And we need to look each other in the eyes and get it turned around. We're only going to be able to do it. Coaches can say what they want, fans can say what they want, but at the end of the day, it's up to us. It's true. The Steelers do need to make changes, but I don't necessarily agree that it's just up to the players. I think at this point, you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, and there's clearly a lot going on that is wrong with this team. It is not just the players. It isn't Najee Harris unable to find the hole. It isn't the offensive line making penalties. It isn't Kenny Pickett throwing interceptions. It's the fact that there's just no flow here. That it's been 2 years, 26 games of Matt Canada, and at no point have we seen anything that resembles an offensive identity. And that's just what seems to get repeated time and time again. When you talk to a team that is struggling, most times they will identify it as we do not have an identity. We need to find an identity. What is an identity in the NFL? Are the Kansas City Chiefs' identity Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid? Are the Los Angeles Rams' identity last season, was that Matt Stafford and Sean McVay? Is the Denver Broncos' identity Russell Wilson and their inability to land anything positive because of him? What is an identity to a football team, to an NFL team? I don't know if the Steelers have an identity, but I don't know if identity is the problem here. I think the problem is the fact that their identity doesn't want to work, that they're trying to make things happen, but those things aren't working, and they're ignoring the fact that those things aren't working. The comments of, we need to make something change, something's got to change. People aren't taking accountability. There's a lot of words out there about accountability. I mean, Cam Hayward talked about it. Najee Harris addressed it, basically blaming the offensive line and the game plan for his inability to run, saying, I've never had a stat like that before, talking about the 4 rushes for 0 yards in the first half that he had against the Eagles. I can't make a hole. I can't do everything. I try to control what I can control. I don't know what more I can do other than just vocalize it. At the end of the day, everybody has to do their job. We lack a lot of experience, a lot of discipline, accountability. Ain't that crazy? You see what's happening now? We said the same stuff last week and the week before that. Here's the thing. You hear all this, and I'm going to go right back to Matt Canada because I truly believe, and that's not going to change anytime soon. I believe that Matt Canada is the problem of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think he's a good OC. I think that part of his team is taking it a little harsh to the fact that everybody in Pittsburgh is running this guy out of the building, but I think it's deserved to be run out of the building. This is the NFL. He said it himself. Matt Canada said it himself. He said, I have a job that everybody wants to talk about. Well, if you don't do that job well, everyone's going to talk negatively and you're going to get ran out of a building. There are only 32 offensive coordinator jobs in the NFL. 32 people get those. If you are not worthy of one of those 32 spots, you do not get to keep one of those 32 spots. What Canada says on a week-to-week basis is that this offense can be tremendous. It can be really good. We just need to stick to what we're doing and it'll click. It'll work. Meanwhile, everybody around him is saying we need to make changes. Do you see the disconnect there? The Steelers are going to continue on this downward spiral. Nothing's going to change anytime soon. But if they do that, at this point in the season, I don't think anything drastic enough will change to where the season can turn around. So it's more of how fast is this train going to get before it inevitably crashes and everything comes tumbling down. And that's the question. Is it going to drag Kenny Pickett down for the future? Is it going to frustrate George Pickens enough to the point where he is not an amicable teammate for this locker room? Is it going to ruin the young career of Najee Harris? Is it going to frustrate Chase Claypool? Is it going to frustrate Pat Freiermuth? Is it going to ruin a second contract for Deontay Johnson or an offensive line that is finally starting to do something, even when they have their downfalls like they did against Philadelphia? Is everything going to crumble with the crash? That is the question. I don't know, to be honest with you. What I do know is that there are plenty of words from these guys, plenty, plenty of videos and quotes and frustration and moments of disappointment that you can see building up to the point where this thing is going to come tumbling down real fast. It might not be until the end of the season. Heck, it might be next week. Who knows? We have no idea when things are going to get the worst, but they're going to continue to get worse. This isn't going to get any better. There's nothing that shows. The NFL is a pattern. Everybody lives and dies with patterns of the NFL. Right now, the pattern is that Matt Canada has coached 26 games. 21 of those games, the team has failed to score over 20 points. The pattern is that Matt Canada is not good at this and that he is creating a snowball effect. And I think that snowball effect, just to get off track here, does include some talent issues. I think there are points to this offense and players within this scheme that just don't work. But I also think that this is a young developing offense. And yeah, maybe they might not win 8, 9 games this season. But I think if they were coached well, they could win 6 or 7 and feel really good about those 6 or 7. I think that it could be a 6 or 7 where you see the progress. You know, you watch the Jacksonville Jaguars and they don't win, but they look like they're a team in the right direction. You watch the New York Jets and you could tell this team's got something. They built something. They've been headed in the right direction. You watch the Pittsburgh Steelers and you just go, nope, they don't got anything. They got a lot of guys that should be working, but none of them are. So that goes back to the coaching. Why aren't these guys clicking? Why aren't things working? It's because Matt Canada is creating a snowball effect and he's shoving it down a hill. It's picking up everything it possibly can. People are rightfully worried. Trey Essex called for Canada to be fired after the game. And frankly, if the Steelers go into week 10 against the New Orleans Saints and everything is the same, Mike Tomlin, Omar Khan, and Art Rooney should be ashamed because they have not put their team first. They've put their pride first. That's going to lose you games, and it's going to make this inevitable crash way worse. I don't know what else to say. I don't think things turn around. And I think that at this point, the Pittsburgh Steelers are playing with fire. And you could see it every single time guys talk. It's just a matter of how bad is this flame going to get and who's it going to take down with them.